Yes, good evening, people. We are back with a show for you, back with the channel. It's been a few days off, few days in the sunshine. Sun has got my face today. It's been beautiful well, I'd say weekend, long weekend, whatever you want to call it. I've been off for a few days, had an unbelievable few days, people. I really have. My voice is going, and I've only just getting it back, funny enough. The last couple of days, it's been pretty much gone. Friday, I had Nottingham, which was brilliant with all the 12th man boys. Some of you may have seen online. Absolutely fantastic. Um, really good night to get the boys together. And yeah, the chemistry was just amazing, man. I can't lie to you. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And then Saturday was Foo Fighters. If you haven't gone and seen Foo Fighters before, go see them. I'll tell you this now. Absolutely phenomenal at the West Ham Stadium, which I'm going to say it now. Lawless won't like me saying this, but West Ham, that stadium is good for gigs. It was good for the Olympics, but it ain't good for football. I enjoyed it. It was a good venue, but it ain't a football stadium. All I'm saying. Foo Fighters were amazing as always. Well worth it. Spent the rest of the time literally having a bit of a chill, going around London, and I've just seen one of the most dramatic endings to a game in a while. Italy, Croatia. Make sure if you haven't seen the ending, you go watch it. Heartbreak for Croatia, unbelievable equalizer for Italy. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go watch it. Unbelievable ending to the game. It wasn't a great game, not gonna lie. It wasn't outstanding um, in terms of the quality. Modric actually missed a penalty, but straight away, Modric then goes and scores. And I kind of felt sorry for him, if I'm honest, because Italy have now gone through with Spain in probably what was not the group of death, but probably one of the most toughest groups out there in the Euros. So I'm sure you all enjoyed that one. Last night, drama at the end of the game against both Germany game and the Scotland game as well. We see Scotland going out. I actually saw a meme which did make me laugh. For anybody who's Scottish out there, I do apologise for this, but it did make me laugh. If you bought the new Scotland kit for the Euros, you can now refund it because your 14 days ain't up yet. It did make me laugh. But big up to Scotland. Big up to all you fans as well. 100%. My gosh, it's warm. It's so hot in here. It's been so hot all day, but we shouldn't be moaning because we haven't had a summer yet, people. We really haven't. The rain has been poor. It's been pretty horrible everywhere to see how wet and miserable the April, May, and June has been. So, end of the month, I come back from holiday and I bring some of the sunshine with me. There we go. Can't say fairer than that. What we're going to hear to be talking about, not the weather, not the Foo Fighters. We're actually here to talk about transfers, and we're going to be doing some transfer rumors today. We're going to be talking a little bit about Gyokeres. We're going to be talking about Osimhen and the price drop. We're going to be talking about a midfielder that Arteta is desperate to sign, people, and it may shock you. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the outgoings and what it might mean for the Euros and some of the players in the Euros at the moment. Now, the group stages are coming to an end. Who's playing well in an Arsenal shirt in the Euros? Who's not really had enough game time? Who would you like to see more of? Etc. Etc. So let's see where we're at. First of all, do me a favor, hit the like button. Once you've done that, hit the subscribe button. And once you've done that, if you do want to join as a member, then click join. They're the free things you can do. The like and subscribe is absolutely free. If you do want to support the channel, you can click join and you can do so. If you also want to support Russ behind me and you want one of these canvases, then make sure you email him. His email address is in the description, which is russellhogphotography@hotmail.com, and he'll sort you out one of these canvases in all kinds of colours. So please make sure that you support our Arsenal community, people. Now, let's talk about Osimhen, the price drop everybody's talking about at the moment. I'm going to put it straight. I think Osimhen wants to leave Napoli, and the agreement of his long-term deal that he signed was actually never going to be long-term. It was a gentleman's agreement that it was going to keep hold of his price tag and allow him to go the following summer. Now, actually, Napoli would have got more money for him last year because he was an absolute superstar. Last year, he was absolutely flying, and it got to a stage where I thought he was probably the most sought-after striker. This season just gone, not as good. Still scored goals, didn't score as many. In the African Cup of Nations was okay. Injuries, not the best. So now people are saying potentially it's not the striker that he's sought after, that everybody wants. But bringing up a report here in front of me, which is actually the Chelsea's Chronicle, because they're also linked with Osimhen. They are saying that it could be as little as £84 million The release clause that they were talking about was close to 112 million or 120 million euros, as some people are saying. But when you look at it, it is probably now going to be dropped. Now, the reason it's going to be dropped is because they're not getting the interest that they thought they would. And I think, if I'm honest with you, last year, you probably would have thought everyone's going to be after Osimhen. Everybody. But they're not after Osimhen because Osimhen's had some injury problems. He's not had the best of season. And it may be more of a risk than potentially it would have been an informed striker of last year. But it's not going down to pennies. This is not going to be a price drop for Osimhen, which is a steal. This is not Osimhen going for 40 million. This is not Osimhen going to be given an absolute bargain and a must, no-brainer signing for Arsenal. It's still going to be a lot of money. Still going to be a lot of money. So I don't know many Arsenal fans at the moment that want or are desperate to sign Victor Osimhen, but he would be a good signing for Arsenal. I don't look at the signing if we were to get him and think, what a waste of money. What are we doing? This isn't like we're putting 100 million on Dominic Calvert-Lewin here, or even the Dominic Solanke, who could be a risk, even though he's had a good season. This is money on a player who is known all around Europe as being an absolute killer, a finisher, a beast. So I think it could be a good signing. I don't think it's one that would take me to this level of excitement like Declan Rice did, but certainly it would do. And I know that Abdullah is saying that he didn't have a great African Cup of Nations. I know he didn't have a great African Cup of Nations. I didn't think it was a shocking one. I didn't think it was a shocker. So that's my first thoughts on Victor Osimhen. It leads me nicely to the other Victor that we're linked with. Now, in the last 3 days, I have been seeing a lot of heavy rumours about Arsenal's link to Victor Gyokeres. Now, I want to ask you in the chat, which Victor do you prefer? Just put it in the chat. Osimhen or Gyokeres? Which one? Which Victor would you rather us sign? Would it be Gyokeres or Osimhen? They're both now, believe it or not, similar value in price, because Sporting Lisbon are going to want as close to, if not the release clause, which is 84 million, and Napoli have taken Osimhen's price down as a drop towards 85 million pounds. So this is going to be a real like-for-like signing in terms of how much we spend, but I really do feel they're going to be completely different in terms of what they can offer. Osimhen is definitely not as good with his hold-up play as Gyokeres. I don't think he's got the physical attributes in the stature of Gyokeres, although he's not small, he's not a midget, he's not Eddie Nketiah size or Jermaine Defoe size, but he definitely isn't that man mountain of a player. I will say, however, that it is a player in Victor Gyokeres that probably is less of a risk because he's had time in England. Now, both of them are going to be risky because, one, they're a lot of money, two, they're coming from different leagues, and three, they've got to fit into the system, right? But I think Victor Gyokeres has actually had time in England, which will give him a lot more benefit than it would for Victor Osimhen, who's coming from a different league. And people have always laughed at it when you say that because he was at Coventry. But actually, he single-handedly got them to the playoff final, Gyokeres. It was 25 goals. The following season, he went to Sporting Lisbon and has got 35 goals, is it, in 40-something appearances? This guy knows where the net is. He can use both feet. I like his attributes in terms of his stature and some of his hold-up play. I think his link-up play could be there. And some people might say we don't need that because we've got Havertz. But for me, Havertz is not the number 9 at Arsenal that I think can get us across the league title. And I think adding somebody on top of what we've got with Havertz and Jesus, Trossard, some of the other players that can play there, is absolutely what we need. What we do not want to do, in my opinion, is just go, I'm happy, let's get a couple of backup players now. Because Arsenal scored a lot of goals last season. And people might think it's crazy that we're looking at wingers and strikers and attacking midfielders because we've already got that. But let's be real, we need that. Yeah, we need that. So that's why I'm looking at Gyokeres as a potentially good signing. Now, some of the reports are that Gyokeres to Arsenal deal is very close. That was from Football London. Give Me Sport is saying that Gyokeres is set to join Arsenal from Sporting. That was only 9 hours ago. 4 hours ago, there's a £100 million euro forward option that Fabrizio Romano is talking about Arsenal, and that, of course, is Victor Gyokeres. The Mirror saying that the Gunners are in advanced talks with striker Victor Gyokeres. That was last few hours as well. And the Arsenal News are reporting that for 43 goals that Gyokeres got, he is favourite to sign for Arsenal. And the deal and reports are between 75 to 80 million pounds. Now, his release clause, I think, is 84 million pounds. So it looks like we're going to potentially look to get as close as we can to that to try and win over Victor Gyokeres to Arsenal. Now, I know a lot of people might look at that and think that's a lot of money. But is it in this day and age? Are we expecting to go and get 25 million pounds for a striker? Do we want to try and get Ivan Toney for 40 or 50 million? Or would you rather go and get somebody who's the next best thing that's going to cost you 80 or 90? I really don't care, is my answer. I don't know, you might disagree in the chat. I just want them to absolutely kill it for Arsenal. Whoever comes through the door, whether it's the player you want, whether it's someone you're not heard of, whether it's someone you're not sure of, I just want them to be ready. I don't want to have to go and say, oh, maybe they need a loan deal. Maybe they need to have some time on the bench. Maybe they need some time to mould in. I don't want any more moulding in players. And Victor Gyokeres is killing it right now. He's on form. I've always been a fan of going for those that are on form. That was why I wasn't against the last few years going and being linked with players that were doing well. For example, I wouldn't have wanted him, but Darwin Núñez, I understood the links to clubs because he was killing it in Benfica. I understood why people wanted Vlahovic because at Fiorentina he was smashing it. I understood why people want Ivan Toney. I understand why there's links to Ollie Watkins. And now I understand why there's links to Gyokeres because he's absolutely smashing it. If you're talking about who's had the better season, Gyokeres has had a better season than Victor Osimhen. I think the problem is what you've got is there's much change in systems where they'd fit in. I have to say, I think both of them have as much risk as to fit in as not to fit in at Arsenal. There's not one I look at there and go, wow, he's got a huge, huge advantage. So that's why I'm bringing up the England previous experience because, of course, Victor Gyokeres has got that. I don't think there's any way that I can believe or predict to the future as who would be a better signing for Arsenal. And in the chat, I'm seeing Osimhen, I'm seeing Gyokeres, I'm not seeing one heavier than the other. And in fact, I actually think a lot of the people I speak to would actually prefer Victor Gyokeres to Victor Osimhen, which is mad to think that a year ago, the guy who was playing for Coventry was not the guy they wanted over the guy who was killing it for Napoli, who just won the league, scored all their goals. That is how quickly football can change. And people are saying now that Gyokeres might suit the way that Arsenal want to play more. I don't know. I like both of them. I don't love both of them. I will say that. And I think that as crazy as it sounds, Ivan Toney might be less of a risk because he's already killing it in the Premier League. And I know that he didn't kill it last year with Brentford, but he was out for most of the season, guys, right? But when he did come back, he did start to cause nuisance, cause problems, and score some goals again. So I don't think if we was to get Ivan Toney, it would be a bad signing. But people seem to have forgotten about that now and don't want him because of his attitude problems. Well, I don't see any attitude problems. Let me tell you that. I watched an interview with him and Declan Rice the other day, and I thought both of them were really close. The chemistry was key. I would like to see us go in for somebody like that. But I think we are going to get a striker this summer. I do. I really believe that. And I think we're also going to be looking to get a wide player in. I don't know if we'll get both, but I think we'll be looking at those options. And the one wide option that I want is Pedro Neto. I've said this for a while. I don't really see a massive issue with the injury problem thing if he's going to be asked to play 15, 20 games a season. If we were asking him to play 30 or 40, absolutely, totally take on board that he might not be the answer. But for me, if you want competition for Saka, Pedro Neto's your guy. And Pedro Neto can play in 2 or 3 positions across the front 3. That's the sort of signing we need. He's got so much technical ability. He's quick with his feet. He can see to be able to use both feet. Knows where the goal is. Every single game that he played for Wolves this season, he pretty much set up a goal or assisted or scored or created something. For me, I think he's the guy. I really do. I think he's the one that we've got to be looking at getting. And I'll be frustrated if Pedro Neto went to a Newcastle or a Spurs. Now, Elise's now gone to Bayern Munich, and that's off the cards. For me, Pedro Neto was always the one that we were looking ahead of him. I just wanted to quickly, before we bring up the midfield situation, talk about Eze. A lot of people are saying that Eze would be a great signing because he can play in a number of positions. I agree. I actually think if we were looking at an attacking 8, if we were looking at a number 10, if we were looking at a wide player or a left winger, he can kind of pick up all of those positions. And I just wonder why he's been overlooked. He can play in more positions than Elise. He's less injury prone than Pedro Neto. He's actually been at Arsenal before. We sold him when he was 12 years old. And there's the London link and the release clause. So actually, Eze could be a good shout. And I don't know why we haven't been linked with him more heavier, or perhaps we are looking at him. So that one's an interesting one for me, Eze. And I also like with Eze that he looks to do one thing, and that's drive forward. He looks to be positive. He looks to try and make something happen. He looks to try and create. My problem is, are Palace going to want to sell them all? And are we actually going to have this release clause in place? Because the Elise one we're still not sure about. Is there a release clause to Eze? I still don't know. I still don't know if there is or not. So that's going to be interesting. I know Eze has got a little bit of a link and love for Arsenal as well. I wouldn't rule this one out, people. The rumor came. I looked at it. I've sat and questioned it. I would keep an eye on it, is what I would say. Keep an eye on it. We're not going to go and sign a striker, a winger, and Eze, in my opinion. But I'd keep an eye on the Eze rumour, because it might be that Eze is one that we look at as an option to cover for Saka, an option to cover for Odegaard, an option to play in that 8. I think it'd be a very, very good signing. Very good signing. Just gone away with England as well. So I'll be a big fan of this one. I really would. Another one that I would be interested in looking at is Nico Williams. Now, I don't know as much about Nico Williams. Big up to Gooners85. There's a couple of questions about Nico Williams. Okay, I'll say this. I would prefer Eze or Pedro Neto because they're Premier League proven. But Nico Williams does look like he's got potential to be a very good player. Absolute baller. And there's a lot about his game I like. I'll say that. Good age, good potential, ready to come in and cause some problems. But would I take him over Eze or Pedro Neto? No, I wouldn't. I just think that it would be less settling in period for him, really, and less pressure as well. The good thing about this position is there isn't really any pressure on the player to come in and be instantly a hit, because he's going to be behind back up to Saka. So it's quite an easy position, actually, to come in and go, right, I'm just waiting for my chance and I'm going to absolutely kill it. It's not, oh my God, I've been thrown in deep end here and playing every week. I better have a good game, otherwise I get dropped. There ain't none of that. And I like that. I like that a lot. So let's see where we're at with that one. Another couple of questions as well from Mindful. Says Arsenal going with Guirassy, according to Sky Sports Germany. I don't see this one happening. I'm not excited by this one either. I think he's had a good season, but he's not a player I look at and go, wow, that is taking us to the next level over a Gyokeres or an Osimhen. That to me just isn't going to happen. But I could be wrong, Mindful. I could be wrong. Yazinho, what do you think of people saying Declan Rice is overrated? I'm going to take some questions now. I normally leave it to the end, but some of these are actually points on what I was going to talk about. People that say Declan Rice is overrated is crazy talk. However, the people that are saying he's overrated because people are calling him world class, I can understand what they mean. Let me explain that, because I don't want to shoot down Declan Rice isn't world class. I don't think he is, because I think for me, Patrick Vieira is a world class Arsenal midfielder. Cesc Fabregas is a world class Arsenal midfielder. Why is that? Because for club and country, they're doing that. Declan Rice has won a Conference League, right? The other thing you've got to take into consideration is, what does world class mean? Because I have a different definition to what a lot of people mean. A lot of people say it's the top 10 people in their position. That to me isn't world class. Someone who's come 10th because he's the 10th best midfielder in the world, to me isn't world class. World class to me means you could walk into any single side in the world and you would start for them and you would make them better and you'd be one of their best players. And at the moment, Declan Rice probably could do that. But at the moment, he hasn't been able to have the chance to prove to do that. He's just come to Arsenal. He's young. He's just starting with England. He's just starting with club and country. I've got to give him a bit more time to go and win some stuff. And likewise with Saka, and likewise with Odegaard. Some people, and it's absolutely fine to do this, say they are world class. Cool. If your opinion of world class has the potential to be world class, is one of the better players in a title winning side, hasn't won anything yet, but will do one day, they're world class now, then go for it. If that's what you think is world class, that's your definition of world class. But I just think we go so extreme with it. Instead of saying, God, ain't Declan Rice having a good season? We have to go, is Declan Rice world class? Is he better than Rodri? Do you think he's better than Vieira already? This is what we have to do with Jude Bellingham as well, by the way. Isn't that Jude Bellingham a good player? Yeah, I think he might be better than Zidane, you know. Oh, just calm down. Let them have their careers, man. They're just starting these kids. Saka, is he world class? He's 22. They haven't done anything. Like, why is we have to put all this pressure on them? Like, are they world class though? Could they play for Real Madrid though? Are they going to win anything though? Whoa, let's calm down, man. All I will say, for those fans that are doing this with Rice and Saka, it's a bloody good thing because they must be the benchmark. They must be the benchmark. So that's what I will say. Joshua Kimmich is another one that's being linked. Yeah, Joshua Kimmich is a guy that I would like a lot. But I don't know at the age of 29 if Mikel Arteta and Edu are looking at those sort of players. Everyone we're linked with is still in a fairly young sort of age bracket. So I'm not too sure about this one. I'm not too sure. Do me a favor, people. We only need 49 likes apparently to reach just 100. Let's make sure we can get to 100 likes. Please, 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 please. We're only on 53. Come on, people. There's well over 200 of you in here. Make sure you hit the like button. Let's make sure we get that up to 100. Okay. Going to take some more questions in a minute, but before we do that, I want to talk about this Arsenal signing that Arteta is desperate to sign this summer. It is a midfielder, and it is someone that I've never heard of, and that can't be a good thing. Mikel Moreno, Real Sociedad, 28-year-old midfielder that is seen as the number 8 to replace Granit Xhaka. I know absolutely nothing about him. He doesn't fill me with much confidence when I haven't heard much about him. So I started to go into more about where he's from and what he's been doing. Now, when we were linked with the Real Sociedad midfielder, I imagined it would be Zubimendi, but it looks like it's not going to be that. So the reason he wants him is because he's been a big admirer of him. Now, this is a player that you might actually remember. Went to Newcastle on loan from Dortmund in 2017, left Newcastle for Sociedad in 2018, where he's had a career for a few years since that season in 2018 to date. Almost 200 appearances, 20 goals. He's not a goal-scoring midfielder. He's not an attacking midfielder. He's more of a box-to-box from what I can understand. He's 6'2", so he's got some physical attributes and some stature about him. 28 years old. And he's a player that I think is admired by Mikel Arteta, but I can't say that it's one that we're 100% going to go and get. But the reports suggest that we are absolutely desperate to sign Mikel Moreno, according to reports suggesting that Arteta has apparently seduced the Arsenal target after calling the Spain star to try to tempt him to come to Arsenal. Now, a lot of people are saying that this is rubbish. A lot of people are saying that this is a player that we have been looking at and we shouldn't write it off. There is a hint as well as a possible summer move in one of the Barcelona reports or one of the news articles over there. A lot of the reports are saying that Arsenal fans are underwhelmed. The Sun are reporting that Arsenal are fuming at the underwhelming Xhaka downgrade. Now, I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to look at a player to come in and take us to the next level. And unless it's a Bruno Gyokeres, a Frankie de Jong, a Barella type player, I think a lot of us will go, who is that? Who is that? Who is that player who comes in at that number 8? Is it easier to play Rice there and go and get that big number 6? Maybe it is. Or either way, we go and get a 6 or an 8, we 100% have to make sure that they are 100% starters. I don't want to go and get another El Neni. I don't want to go and get another Jorginho. We've got them, we've had them, it hasn't worked. We need to go to that next level, not just replace like for like. So when I'm linked with Bruno Gyokeres, I'm excited as an Arsenal fan. When we're linked with Frankie de Jong, I'm excited. And it's not to say that we're not going to end up with somebody like that. But Mikel Moreno, it doesn't fill us with any confidence to go and believe that we're going to take that next step with a signing like that. Now, I'm not Mikel Arteta. I have no idea what attributes he'll bring. And I don't know that he won't be an absolute hit or success. But he's the sort of player that's coming in now with some experience and as a ready-made player. But is he any better than what we've got? Would a midfield of Partey, Rice and Ødegaard be more exciting than Moreno, Rice and Ødegaard? The answer is yes. Partey, Rice and Ødegaard should be, in my opinion, next season an option. That's if Partey stays. If we don't get a Thomas Partey replacement and Partey stays, we have to get a number 8. And it has to be in the form of a Bruno Gyokeres who can play 6 and 8 like Rice. And they can share it, they can switch it, whatever they want. I don't care. But there needs to be an option. I'm still not against the Yusuf Fofana links. I think that would be a fantastic option. I think that for me would be a very, very good signing. But this Marino one, for a similar price of 25 million-ish pounds, is one that apparently is looking likely now. So I don't know where we're at. I would be amazed if Marino is a starter for Arsenal. I would. I would be amazed. And it kind of makes you think, where was the Granit Xhaka thinking? Now, I don't miss Granit Xhaka personally. I don't. I had 7 years of him and I thought he had maybe 18 months where he was quality. The rest of the time he was poor. Now, some of that was because he was played out of position by Arsene Wenger and he wasn't ever a CDM. Some of it was because he's mentally just lost his head when he threw the shirt on the floor and walked off. And some of it was because I actually didn't like the fact that he had a bit of a hot head on him and he got sent off sometimes. But he had a really good couple of seasons for us. And Ash is right in the chat saying, do you miss Xhaka? He's had 2 man of the matches in the Euros and had a great season for Leverkusen. That doesn't mean to me that we miss him. What it does mean is he's a good player and always has been a good player, to be fair to him. I've never really given him the credit perhaps he deserves because there's a lot of stuff that I just wasn't a fan of. I lost a lot of time and respect for him when he did that at the Emirates, and I found it quite hard to forgive him for that. However, if we're going to be looking at Granit Xhaka being missed, something's gone wrong in our transfer market. We should not miss Granit Xhaka. We shouldn't. Because let me ask you this. When I was growing up, the biggest compliments I could give to some of our best ever signings was that we didn't miss the player that replaced them. And I'm not talking about replacing players like Jules Ramondi or replacing players that were a bit better than that in the likes of Nicolas Anelka, let's say. We're talking about some of the greatest that we replaced. We didn't miss Tony Adams because of Sol Campbell. Yeah. We didn't miss Anelka because of Thierry Henry. We didn't miss Overmars because of Robert Pires. We shouldn't be missing Granit Xhaka. It should not be that should not come into the same sentence. He was a good player for Arsenal. He will be remembered as a good player for Arsenal. He will not be in the same bracket as Liam Brady, Patrick Vieira, Cesc Fabregas, Emmanuel Petit, Gilberto Silva. And to be honest, you can probably chuck on a couple more in there as well. Yeah. He will not be remembered by any of those. So we need to get moved past the whole we miss Granit Xhaka. Do I think we should have kept him 100%? I wouldn't have started him, but should we have kept him? Absolutely. Absolutely we should have. And last season, he probably would have played quite a few games because when Rice, Partey and Ødegaard wasn't able to be there, we would have had Rice, Xhaka and Ødegaard. And that would have been good. That would have been good. So I would have kept him. I wanted to sign Declan Rice and keep Xhaka, not replace Declan Rice with, replace Xhaka with Declan Rice. This season, we need to keep Jorginho and Partey and Rice, and we need to add one more, or we need to get rid of Partey if he's not wanting to be here and sign 2 more to cover for Rice and Jorginho. That's what needs to happen, in my opinion. And I think they're probably going to need to buy 2 more if Partey goes, definitely 1 more in the kind of ilk of a Bruno G. That's my opinion. So we'll see where we go for there. Let's talk a little bit, before I take some of your last questions, about the Euros and some of the performances. I haven't seen a lot of the Euros. I haven't watched every single game. I've been busy, other things going on. As far as England are concerned, I think Declan Rice and Saka have been 2 of the brighter sparks in the England shirt. I don't think Declan Rice had a great second game, but I thought he was really good in the first. I thought Saka was probably one of the brighter sparks in the games that can actually hold his head high and say that he was at least a threat down that right-hand side. So as far as England are concerned, when Arsenal players are the 2 you're looking at and Man City players are the ones you're questioning, and I'm not saying all of them, but Foden certainly is one of them, I think things are looking okay as far as Rice and Saka are concerned. I don't think for once you can look at it now and talk about how they're doing or not doing. And then, of course, you've got the situation with Raya, who tonight made a very, very crucial save in Spain for Spain to go through. We've also had Zinchenko with some dodgy moments. Please sell him. I've been very, very unimpressed again. He cannot defend. The other night he got beaten for the goal. First game, both the goals were his fault. Not good enough defensively. Not good enough. Not good enough. Saliba deserves praise. Saliba's been good. Now, a lot of people have said in the first game, he weren't that great. He was fine. Second game, fine. I've been really, really impressed with everything about this kid. He needs to be playing in the first team. He's better than Upamecano. He's better than Konaté. Saliba's the guy, man. Saliba's the guy. There was a vote and a poll earlier about which Arsenal player has been the best. Saliba won it so far. Saliba is the guy, man. Saliba. Let's talk a little bit about Kieran Tierney. Kieran Tierney's going to stay at Arsenal now, in my opinion. I think that injury is going to rule out anybody signing him. I don't think he's going to get through a medical with any team now because it's a long-term hamstring injury, from what people are saying. But I'm not against keeping him as a backup left back. If our defence this coming season, right, at right back is Ben White and Tomiyasu, at left back is Timber and Tierney, and at centre backs is Kivior, Gabriel, Saliba, and then one of Ben White, Tomiyasu, we'll make do. I still feel we need a right-sided centre back, but we'll make do. Yeah? I don't think Kieran Tierney staying at Arsenal for this 1 year until he goes afterwards would be a horrendous thing for Arsenal. I'm not looking at it thinking, oh, this is bad news. We're going to get, 10 million tops for Kieran Tierney now because of his injury issues? Just keep him for the year and then let him go next year, if that's what you want to do. We might even be able to resurrect some of his career at Arsenal for him to then go and get a move after that. I just really want him to have a good career, man. I love everything about Kieran Tierney, and I'm a huge fan of his. I really am. So let's hope that Kieran Tierney will get well soon and that he can actually have a good career, because at 26 or whatever he is, he should really be nowhere near the end. And injuries are just killing him. They really are. So big up to KT, and let's see what he can do there. In terms of some of the other outgoings, I don't really know where we're at with this transfer window that's only just opened. Ramsdale, I think he's going to want to probably go. I don't know where, but I think we need to be at least getting 30 million for him, because if you buy him for 25 million from a two relegated sides, and he goes into a title race for 2 years, you can't be expected to be selling him 15, 20 million. So somebody's got to come in, and I think we're going to do that. Then we've got to be looking at the scenario with Tavares leaving. I think Lokonga in midfield might need to go. Partey and Smith Rowe and Vieira, there's question marks, but Nelson and Nketiah are definitely two that need to go as well. So I think when you've got Nelson being linked with Fulham, West Ham, Palace, Wolves, those sort of clubs, this is good. I also think Fulham and Wolves are two clubs that are interested in Eddie Nketiah. I know Villa and Newcastle were apparently interested in Smith Rowe. Vieira, I've not got much interest from, but let's be real, no one's going to get any interest from him. He's just not good enough. We're going to be stuck with him, unfortunately. That's just a bad signing from Edu and Arteta. It's just a bad one. And people can say he's young and he's not had a chance. He's had 2 years and he's done nothing. They've lost faith in him, trusted him. He doesn't even come on now. It's just been poor. They just held an L on that one. So let's see what we get for these players. But if we can make between 100 and 150 million from some of the player sales and put that towards the 200 million pound budget, we've got a hell of a summer in our hands, people. We have. And that can get us a good goalkeeper, a good defender, a couple of good midfielders, a wide player, and a striker. No question it can. Absolutely it can. Because we're not being linked with 150 million pound players. Now, I was having this conversation yesterday. Do we just get that 300 million plus and go, there's 150 or there's 180, go get Isak? I'd love to. But Newcastle are not going to sell him. And Isak, I don't think, wants to go this year. I've got no doubt that he'd be interested in coming to Arsenal. I don't think that's the question. If I said to you now, would you rather go to Arsenal or would you rather go to Newcastle? You're going to go Arsenal, aren't you? So I think with Isak, people just need to forget about that one until the following summer. And we'll go for that then. Now, people then might think, well, what are we on a striker for now then if we're going to go for him? That's the way it works, people. Football's about timing massively. Absolutely massively about timing. And sometimes players aren't available that you want. And it ain't right. It ain't, meant to be, as they say. So that could be the case. So I have to see what happens there. So that's where we're at, people. That's where we're at. Let's take some of your thoughts. 170 is not a fan of Arteta, bless him. Trossard's been our best player. Pepe for Saka. Don't understand that one. Latest on Chido from the academy. No more news after what I heard. We're still trying to keep him. He still wants a lot more money. Bayern Munich are interested, but I will keep you updated if I hear anything new. Shay Tanya says, Big up, Dan. We need to wrap up signings, but we're still missing a star man. I think there is definitely that where we can look at and say, do we have star boy, Erdegaard, Bukayo Saka? I think we need star signings now. Players that need to come in need to be like, boom, they're ready. Do you know what I'm saying? Only 12 more likes, must be less than that now. We must be on 100 likes now, people, aren't we? 4 more likes, please. 4 people hit the like button. We've hit 100. That's what's needed. All right. Big up, Mum, as well for doing that as a mod. Elliot, big up, my bro. Says big up, Dan. Great to see you back in Blighty. Yeah, listen, I'm all good now, mate, and back to doing questions with you, interaction with you, daily content with you. Jake says, sorry, I'm late. Since we're being linked with Williams, do you think Arteta will see Jesus as a striker, not a right winger? I think we will see Jesus stay at Arsenal and be used as a squad player across the front three. There'll be times where he starts. There'll be times where he goes up front. There'll be times where he goes on the right. And I like that about him. I think that is what's needed. I don't actually want us to be in a scenario where we actually have Jesus and we can't play him and don't want to play him. It's not for me. It's not for me. Mindfulness says that he saw Mikel Moreno play today for Spain. He looked average to me. Zubimendi controlling that midfield. Yeah, that's who I believed we were after, but reports suggesting today that Moreno is the guy that we are now more heavily linked with. Garang says, since Bruno G's release clause is expiring today, do you think Arsenal will make a move? That's going to be interesting for me. I actually will say this. I don't think if his release clause does not get activated, I think he'll stay at Newcastle. The reason he'll leave is because he's going to knock on the door and say, can someone sell me, please? Can you sell me to Man City or Arsenal? Because I don't want to be here anymore. And we can probably get him from between 80 to 100 million. They're going to want as close as that 100 million as possible, in my opinion. I think he'd be fantastic. Did any club trigger a release clause of Bruno? No, I don't believe so, Patrick. So I have to see there what happens. Michael says, Dan, would your sacrifice starting striker if it meant playing Havertz in midfield? I never want to see Havertz in midfield ever again. I honestly would not want to see him at all. Michael says, Dan, I worry that Arteta will force Havertz into midfield if we buy a top striker. Your thoughts? I don't think he will. Because I truly believe it would be him falling on the Havertz sword, because it has not worked this season in midfield. And when he dropped him back there against Villa and Bayern Munich, guess what happened? We went out of the Champions League and we lost the league title. So if he does that again, he's basically just getting himself sacked, isn't he? Because it's ridiculous to do that. Chaitanya says, do you think we'll see Waneri play more games? I hope that we see him in the League Cup games. So I don't want to be seeing him coming on every game if he's not ready. Like, for me, we're in a position where we don't need to be going for that top 6, top 4. Let's see what Waneri can do. If Waneri's good enough, he's old enough. And that, for me, is the bottom line. So, Chaitanya, I'm with you, bro. I think we'll see him, but I don't think we'll see him as much as what people are saying. But a lot of people are saying, do you want him as the Odegaard cover? I'd rather go and get Xavi Simons, if I'm honest. But if we can't do that, and Waneri's the guy, I think I'd rather have Waneri than Vieira. Put it that way. Lucas says, how many goals is Havertz getting next season? We're not signing a striker. A lot of people are saying that we're not going to get a striker. I think we will. I think Kai Havertz can get 15 goals again next season, though, even with a striker, because I think he can be used more as a squad player and an impact sub. And I actually think he'll be more of an impact sub than people think and give him credit for. So he does give us something different, 100%. Starting to lose my voice, so I'm only going to take a couple more of these. Where are we? This one comes from Michael. Let's make this one the last one. If we sold Party and you could only buy one world-class player in a position, who would you cover? If I can sign one player right now that's available, it would be Bruno Guimaraes. And that, for me, is more of a priority area. That midfield is the priority area, not the centre forward. I think the centre forward is needed as well. If I had to only pick one position, I would actually pick that left eight. And I think Bruno G and Rice and Erdegaard would absolutely blitz that Premier League apart, man. I think it would be phenomenal. So that's the one I would get. I would also buy Ivan Toney or Victor Gyokeres or Victor Osimhen, 100%. I think that's a striker is needed. Pedro Neto or Xavi Simons would come in to replace cover for Saka if I wanted to pick one. Diamande would be my right defender choice. And I would go and sign a goalkeeper that is a number one, like Diogo Costa. If we can't do that, I'll go and get a backup goalkeeper. So, yeah, that's what my kind of ideal will be looking at, if I'm honest. So that's my kind of dream summer, I suppose, really. If I was to go through it and we had money as no option, they're the sort of players we should be looking at, in my opinion. If we want to cover those positions, we can't cover them all. If somebody had said to me now, I'm looking at these positions that are being covered, I'm only going to be able to sign 3 or 4 of them. Can you give me the one player you'd have in each of those? And I'll go and pick the 3 or 4 that I like, excuse me, that I like. They're the ones I do. You know, Diogo Costa would be my keeper, Diamande in defence, in midfield, Bruno Guimaraes and Fofana, Javi Simmons or Pedro Neto or both, and up top, it would be a striker in the ilk of Victor Gyokeres, Osimhen or Tony. So that's where I'm at, man. That's where I'm at. Listen, big up to all of you for being here, man. I haven't done a show for a few days, and it's great to see that there's almost 300 of you still watching. Thank you so much for that. I much appreciate it. It really does mean a lot when I've been away for so long that you do come and support. Make sure that you do like this video. Make sure that you do subscribe, please, because we're in a position where we want to try and get to 30k. I know that we've hit 20. We've got to keep going. This channel is going to be coming daily for you guys. It's going to get to a stage where you're going to be very, very busy with us. You're going to be able to see from next week in particular how busy I can be. I'm going to start doing morning shows, afternoon shows, evening shows. It's going to get really busy on 12th Man. So please make sure that you are a part of it, because I want to be seeing all of you guys when it starts. It's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to be doing this full time now as a career. So this is going to be something that I'm going to be able to bring to you in a different kind of format, regular schedule, 2-3 times a week. Yeah, that's going to be me. So on 12 Man, you'll see the channel go to the next level. You'll see the production level get better. You'll see more panel debates. You'll see more people coming on. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, because it's going to be a great one. Going to send you over to Lee Gunner now. So please make sure you stay tuned. Everybody go show some love over there. Say Dan Potts sent me. Lee will love that. So make sure you do that, people. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy, people.